Okay, so welcome everyone. This is an awesome webinar I created as an open house to the school I created called Soul Expansion School, which you will be hearing about more later. I wrote some notes down, but I'm going to be talking to you or the camera, and you guys will be listening. So I'll just share a little bit about myself, then we'll get into why the law of attraction doesn't actually work for everyone, what limiting beliefs are. I'll talk about the lower self, the higher self, and the images that we create as adults, and how they're affecting us today, and ways for you to start getting rid of your limiting beliefs even if you don't sign up for the school. So firstly, I am Bianca Mastro Totaro, owner of Enchanted Living Spaces. I am a feng shui practitioner, a home energy clearer, a Chinese herbalist, a flower essence practitioner, and now I've created this school where my main goal is to basically get you untrapped from your childhood traumas, basically. Those are exactly what blocks us for getting where we want to be, why we're not creating enough, money in our lives, maybe why our relationships aren't going the way we want, why we keep, taking in these angry people or these people that put us down, and why we accept that. There's so many different things that come out of limiting beliefs. So I also wanted to share a little bit about my experience with the law of attraction. So what I've found is that it kind of works for me, and basically, I use, your thoughts, your visualizations, you meditate, you do all these different modalities, right, to get you where you want to be. And with my experience, I've always felt blocked. I've hired people to clear my energy. I've hired money practitioners that have taken me back to childhood, to a specific moment in time, to find this maybe one moment that started all my, say, money blocks, for instance, and nothing ever worked for me. I don't know if you guys have any similar experiences, but you can tell me in the chat if you would like. So over time, I've felt absolutely stuck and blocked in the same areas, and I never knew why. So I kept searching and searching, and I've read all these manifestation books, and I've taken all these workshops, and still nothing. And finally, I stumbled across our lower self, right? This is what's preventing us from moving forward, and I will talk a little bit more about that. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about is why exactly the law of attraction doesn't work for everybody. So, when you're manifesting, you have to truly vibrate and, envelope exactly what you want. And that can work for some people. But if you have limiting beliefs that are holding you back, let's take an example here. So say you're at the bottom of a mountain, and at the top of the mountain is what you want to manifest. So say it's more financial security or a better relationship or success in life. But then, you can see the path to get there, and it's clear. But you have these chains on you, right? And each chain is attached to a rock, which is a limiting belief. And you're trying to get up to the hill, and it's hard, right? And it's muddled, and you're going to struggle unless you cut ties with some of the chains. So that's how limiting beliefs block us from actually getting to where we want. And most of the time, we don't even know that they're actually there, which is pretty horrifying. We'll talk more about that after. So basically, the point is you got to weed out some of the limiting beliefs so that you can go and manifest. It's not just this heady stuff where, you think about it, you correct yourself and potentially get mad at yourself when you catch yourself thinking opposite to what you want to manifest, right? So you're thinking, I really want this loving relationship, but you catch yourself thinking, oh, I'm never going to get that. And then you get mad at yourself, which is only counterproductive. So let's get into the next part, which is how can I tell if I have limiting beliefs? So if you have any frustrations in your life where you've tried to get to what you want, to what your desires are, and you've failed again and again, or you just don't know the right path and you can't get there. So sometimes we have these natural qualities about ourselves that we're good at, right? So if you tell the difference between what you're good at and say like you're really good at, I know Megan's on here, so copywriting. She's absolutely amazing at it, but maybe if Megan went and tried to do something else, she's getting these blocks, right? Because, there's a fear there. There's, you're not in your comfort zone. You don't know exactly where you're going. So you have to pay attention to your self-talk, your thoughts, especially when it comes to these things that you want to desire, because most of the time they're so hidden and so subtle that you don't even know that they're there. There's something called a yes energy and a no energy. So again, like I said before, the yes energy are the areas of our lives where we've had luck and we know that we're good at something and it's just easy to do. But then this no energy, which we want to go towards something and our whole body's saying, yes, go for it. But we have this no stream of energy that's preventing us. So it kind of is like, pulling on both sides and you don't actually get to where you want to be, right? So where did these limiting beliefs come from? So everyone that you would ever ask is probably going to tell you that they come from childhood, and that's true. And a child is only capable of something that we would call immature love because they are children and they don't know any better, right? So everything is about them. They want all the attention from their parents. They want all the love in the world. And that's totally cool because they're children. They idolize their parents, but at certain points in time, children tend to act out and sometimes they do things like stealing or hitting or biting, whatever, and the parents end up getting angry and they withhold their love from the child, right? At that moment, the child develops a belief, right? If I do this, then I won't get love. So something is created called an image, which I will talk more about in a little bit. But basically, they come from maybe one traumatic experience in childhood or this subtle occurrence that happens throughout a whole childhood, right? Where maybe we have a parent that doesn't give us enough love that we wanted, or maybe we have a parent that only loved us when we were doing good things, right? So we create this image, and that's where I move into this next part where I talk about the lower self, the higher self, and the image that we create for ourselves. So our lower self is our shadow. It's our unhealed child within us. And this is what is blocking us from getting exactly what we want to manifest. These are the denied emotions in ourselves. For example, I take pride in not having anger. And I've always felt I've never been an angry person, but yet I guess in my friendships and in my relationships, I've always attracted angry people or people that have anger problems. And again, I reiterate to myself, thank God I'm not an angry person. But what this really is, in terms of our lower selves, is I'm denying the angry person within me. So then I attract that into my life. A big part about this work is that you actually have to find these flaws in ourselves that they cause guilt, they cause shame. We try and hide them. We even deny them and we push them down. And if you really want to manifest, you have to love all of yourself, right? Because if you love all of yourself, then the universe is going to pick up on that. But if you deny a huge part of yourself, that's when problems start to come in. We don't even know that this is happening. So you can see these limiting beliefs everywhere in your life, basically, in your environment, in your job, how you feel about yourself. It's just actually searching them out and finding them, which can be really, really hard because a lot of the times it's subtle. It's almost like you go and you get ready all day and you finally have, your hair done, your makeup on, and you feel good. But what did you say to yourself that moment that you looked into the mirror? Sometimes thoughts pop up like, oh, like, look how crappy you look right now. And then you go and you get ready. And then after that, that's when you feel okay about yourself. But it's like that split second when you have that thought. And it's really hard to hear them. So that's our lower self. This is the part that needs to be healed, that needs to come into maturity. Then we have our higher self. This is our, who we truly are. This is our true essence. This is our intuition. This is our connection to the universe. This is where we actually manifest. Like, I don't know if you guys have heard about, we vibrate on certain levels. So obviously the higher self is a higher vibration. The lower self is a lower vibration. And unfortunately, the way that this works is the lower self actually covers the higher self, right? So if you want to manifest, you have to remove a lot of the lower self so that the higher self can get pushed out again. That's another aspect of this. Then we have these images that we create, right? And this is a result of our lower selves, our child that's still within us, that we learned was unacceptable. So we wanted to be perfect for our parents. We have to conform to what society tells us what we have to do. We have to give love. We have to do it all. And we create this perfect image of ourselves, right? Where we throw all these negative emotions that we have or thoughts about ourselves. Maybe secretly you could be afraid that you're a bad person. You have certain thoughts about certain people. So we push it down and we push it down and we push it down. No, that's not me. It's not acceptable. It's ugly. How dare you think something like that? We beat ourselves up over this, right? So we try and create this perfect image so that we can show everyone, look, I'm great. I don't get mad. I'm happy. I help all my friends. Because what this really means is if we act this certain way, this perfect image that we created for ourselves, that means we get love, right? If we're not doing anything wrong, people love us. So you can kind of tell if you have a perfect image. For an example, if someone texts you, say a friend that you've always given into and no matter what have dropped anything for, to go and help them out. And after a while, it starts to get frustrating, right? But you go and you do it anyways because that's what is acceptable. And sometimes we actually want people to see it so that, they can again see how perfect that we so-called are, right? We have to act a certain way. We have to talk a certain way. We have to dress a certain way. We can't say swear words. We can't do anything that society tells us not to do, right? So how does this affect us? So we have, again, our lower self that is preventing us from moving forward and truly letting our higher self come forward so that we actually can manifest. And then we have these images. So it kind of seems like a whole bunch of lies is kind of muddled right on top of our higher self. So these are the reasons why we can't manifest and we have roadblocks and we, struggle in our finances or relationships. And so some ways for you to start viewing this, like I said before, is those split-second thoughts. Like if you actually start to listen to yourself and find those subtle things that you're saying, or these subtle reactions. Like you might have said yes to your friend to go and help her out, but secretly on the inside you're being like, I don't want to help you. You don't do anything for me. This is not what I want to do, but I'm going to do it anyways because that's what you're expected to do, right? Another way you can start letting go is if you meditate differently, or if you meditate and you silence your mind and you actually maybe ask a question like, universe, please show me exactly what I need to know at this moment. And just listen and let those things come up, because we have to find out, all these limiting beliefs from our childhood, right? And in order to do that, you have to be on guard. You have to listen, and you have to take cues from the universe. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to manifest in the way that you actually want to manifest. So I know this was quick, but I just wanted to tell you about Soul Expansion School. So I'm going to turn my screen over. And if you guys have any questions, please type into the chat box while I share this. Soul Expansion School. So in Soul Expansion School, we're going to delve more deeply into all of these topics. We, school is for the people that have tried manifestation techniques. They've tried all these self-help books. They're not getting any results. And it's really frustrating, right? So in Flower Essence School, you're going to learn all these different things, right? You're going to learn how to help you reveal those inner truths, your childhood hurts, how you can improve your self-worth, your true view on yourself, and how and why you keep creating these situations over and over again in your life. We'll be finding out your childhood hurts. You'll be thoroughly examining them. You will learn sometimes how we subconsciously replay them over and over again, how we create our limiting beliefs, how we tell ourselves these lies, right, about our self-image that I was talking about before, how you self-sabotage, which I will expand on after this. I just wanted to get through this part, and basically why you're not manifesting. And I've been working really hard on this school, and I keep adding more things, and I'm really, really excited about it. So you will come out like having a new understanding of yourself, and like actually where you need to go and the steps that you need to take. You'll be able to learn. You'll learn how to connect more readily to your intuition and your higher self, and we'll also talk about the chakra system. All of our traumas are stored in our first and second chakras. And, these are where our survival beliefs, our limiting beliefs, and our traumas are all sitting. And if you don't do anything about them, like I said, that's another thing that's going to be preventing you from manifesting your desires. And again, so this is Soul Expansion School, but with flower essences, right? Which is even cooler. So we'll be using spinach flower essence, strawberry flower essence, and raspberry flower essence. And I picked these because all of these essences help us with stress, overwhelm, worry, any dysfunctions that happened in childhood, self-blaming, self-esteem, feeling unworthy, the whole shebang. I'm so excited to be using these. So I'm going to take this off. Okay, let me just check over here. Okay, so Who is afraid to find out their childhood traumas? Or has anyone tried to actually do that before? Sorry I went through that so quickly. Yeah, I've tried, me and my friend Megan, who's on here, went through Mastin Kipp's 40 Days to Claim Your Power. And it was a lovely book, but it was super surface. And that really got me mad because I've always felt that there's just something just totally blocking me, just something stuck. And I don't understand, I didn't understand where it came from, right? And then I came across, like I said before, this lower self work. And here's another example, right? So everything in the universe is connected, right? Everything's made out of atoms and energy, and everything is vibrating, right? So that only means that we ourselves are part of pretty much everything else, right? So if you don't believe that you are worth anything, that you're not lovable. I know this sounds surface too. I can expand more on this, but if you don't believe so highly in yourself, how do you think the universe is going to respond, right? If we're hiding all these things about ourselves. I was reading a book, and this woman, she was giving a lecture, and a person of color sat up, and she said that she was giving her a really hard time, and she didn't understand why. And she went to her coach, and her coach was like, "What was your immediate thought when the woman stood up in the crowd?" And the author said, she made a racist comment in her head. So you really have to pay attention to all these subtle things that you're thinking and you're feeling. When you go to picture yourself, say, like, if you could close your eyes now, right? And you want to imagine a desire that you have, right? And kind of picture yourself in it. Do you feel like I always get like, whenever I have a block, like I feel it like right in my chest. Because there's something there that's being like, you have a fear of it. And why do you have that fear of manifesting what you want? And it usually comes down to self-worth and self-love. Or some type of like hidden fear where it's like, if my business expanded, then I'm going to have all this extra stress on my plate, right? Or how am I going to be able to handle it? Or if I do get more money, will people try and take it from me? There's all these fears that are just sitting there. So after you go through this process and do this work, and it does take a long time, in Soul Expansion School, I will give you everything on how to start realizing these limiting beliefs, finding out where they came from, finding out how you can release them, but you actually have to put the work in, and you actually have to be on your game, right? Because we're really trying to catch ourselves. It's like all these subtle things that that we don't even realize that we're doing, or like I said, with the images that we create for ourselves. What are we hiding about ourselves? What are we in denial about? A lot of the books I read have referred to the lower self as evil, right? We have these things in us that we are ashamed of. And again, like I said, if you have these things and they're so deep down in you, they're really holding you back from manifesting anything that you actually want. So let me just look in the comments. What is an example of a personal image? So an example of a personal image would be someone who pretends like they're perfect, right? They have the perfect family, they have the perfect job, they always have a smile on their face. They go out of their way, they can go out of their way to do things for people, but deep down, you know, they're sad, or they don't want to actually do anything for those people. They get annoyed. You know, if someone asks you to help them and you just like, no, like I really don't want to, but you go and you do it anyways because that's what is expected of you. So you almost kind of have to get comfortable with those negative aspects, right? We have these feelings and these thoughts in ourselves that are selfish, right? And this stems again from our lower self, our child that hasn't been healed yet, right? Because like I said, the child only knows selfish love, right? Everything has to be about the child. They want to be taken care of. If a child doesn't get love, they literally die, that's terrible. It's terrible. And none of this is about playing the victim or pointing the finger at anyone. You have to fully take responsibility for yourself now as an adult. But we still have to heal that childhood self, right? So Charlene has tried hypnotherapy and age regression. Yeah, I haven't found anything that has worked for me besides this work. When I started learning more about it, it just clicked, right? And that's the best thing that you can do. Or the best way for you to know that something is actually working for you, right? Is if it clicks and you're like, yes, absolutely. Any other questions, guys? Before I end, also for coming live, I will be sending out a 10% off coupon. So thank you so much for coming. I think that's it. I know I totally sped through that. I got a little nervous. I never actually talk to the camera. I usually read off of a script. So this is the first time I actually wanted to try and do something like this. So I'm glad that you guys are all here to support me in my first, one-on-one, me and the camera type of thing. So I'm really excited. And next week I will be doing a webinar where it actually will be presented. It's not me one-on-one, about the emotional, how you can emotionally heal with flower essences. Because that's exactly why, this is what kind of got me into this work, was started learning Chinese herbal medicine, right? And then I got into flower essences and I saw how they could heal a person on a cellular level, but they can also help to heal people on an emotional level, because what flower essences do is they restore us back to our original essence, right? So when you're a child, you are in your true essence, and then you start to not become jaded, but you just, because of your environment and because of society, and then you develop these images and these beliefs, our true essence, our higher self, becomes covered by our lower self, right? So these flower essences actually help, they help the process. It speeds it up. So I'm really excited to use them. Yeah. So with the limiting beliefs, like, it's mostly, I would say, the first step. Like, if you guys aren't going to sign up for anything and you just want to go and take this forward, one of the things I would suggest to do is carry around a notebook, right? And like literally write down anything that is triggering you. Whether, I can give you an example, right? So I know I'm still, like, I have like a limiting belief, and I know that I'm living in in my lower self, in my relationship sometimes, because I give so much. But I give so much because I'm expecting a lot more love than what I feel like I'm getting in return, right? So that's kind of a selfish thing. I'm going to give to you so that you can go ahead and then give to me, right? Because I'm still searching for that love that I guess I feel like I didn't get from a certain parent. And so we take these things from our childhood and we can see them, replaying in our relationships and the way we treat ourselves. So another big aspect of this is to let, your friends and your family off the hook, right? Because you're not going to get that love that you didn't get in childhood as an adult right now. You're not, you try and you recreate these things subconsciously. You don't even know that you're doing it. I've always dated guys that have seemed emotionally unavailable, right? And I always overly give. I give too much love, but I'm always expecting that. I'm always looking for that love to make up what I didn't particularly get from a certain parent back in my childhood, right? So if you start looking at things that way, I hope that helps kind of answer your question on how to pay attention to your limiting beliefs. Yeah. So, okay, I think that is it. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to, type into the Facebook group, or you can just respond directly to my email. Again, thank you guys so much for being here and supporting me. And I will send out a link, to the course if you'd like to check it out. And also stay tuned for next week. I'll be having a webinar on the flower essences and how they can emotionally heal. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.